Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Fairul Asar Tombalisa, and now I will present about my task, that is language maintenance and SIF. So, before I'm going to the content, I will try to explain what is language maintenance and what is language SIF. So, language maintenance is an act or effort of someone in a community to maintain their mother tongue, and then language SIF is a process where there is a shift or process of elimination of first language or mother tongue by a second language in a community. Language maintenance denotes the continuing use of a language in the face of competition from a regional and socially more powerful language. And language shift is the opposite of this. It denotes the replacement of one language by another as the primary means of communication within a community. And the first point is language shift in different communities. So there are three types of communities within the language shift process occurs. That is migrant minorities, non-migrant minorities, non-migrant communities, and then migrant majorities. So for the migrant minorities, there are many migrant minorities is the immigration community where they immigrate. They are a small group compared to the environment around them. So there are many different social factors which can lead a community to shift from using one language for most purpose to using a different language, or from using two distinct code in different domains. The order of domains in which language shift may differ for different individuals and different groups, but gradually over time the language of the wider society displaces the minority language mother tongue. This may take 3 or 4 generations, but sometimes language shift can be complemented in just 2 generations. And non-migrant communities, language shift is not always the result of migration, but political, economic, and social change can occur within a community, and this may result in linguistic change too. And the second one and the last one is migrant majorities. When language shift occurs, it is always shift towards the language of the domain powerful group. A domain group has no intention to adopt the language of minority. And the next point is language death and language loss. It is generally true that when all the people who speak a language die, so the language dies with them. For example, in 1992, when Tevfik Essence died, so did the linguistically complex Gaussian language Ubik. Manx has now completely died out in the history of man. The last native speaker, Ned Medrell, died in 1974. And another side, language loss is the process of shifting language by someone who has endured difficulties in using the mother tongue because it is often dominated by the majority language. And then slowly the mother tongue will reach the stage where the speaker can no longer use the mother tongue. So this is called language death. And for example is any 20 is young speaker of Dirbal, an Australian Aboriginal language. He also speaks English which he learned at school. There is no written Dirbal material for he to read, and there are fewer and fewer contexts in which she can appropriately hear and speak the language. So she is steadily becoming less proficient in it. She can understand the Dirbal she hears used by other people in her community, and she uses it to speak to her grandmother. but her grandmother is sketching about her ability in Dirbal, saying Annie doesn't speak the language properly. And the next point is factor contributing to language shift. The first factor is economic, social, and political factors. People see there is an important reason to learn a second language, and they do not see the need to maintain their ethnic language. All of that for the purpose of improving the economy, social status, or political interest. Economic progress sometimes elevate the position of a language into a language that high economic value. For example, is English language, which is generally used in various fields as a means of communication at work, and then it is the interest of many people to learn it. And the last factor is demographic factor. Demographic factors are also relevant in calculating the speed of language shift. The process of language shift in rural areas is actually longer than in urban areas. This is because rural areas usually rarely have contact with urban areas for several reasons. For example, rural areas are far from urban areas, but on the other side, there are also those who often immigrate because of this, because they want to improve the quality of economy, because in rural areas sometimes there is less work they can do. And the last factor is value and attitudes. Language shift tends to be slower among communities where the minority language is highly valued. When the language is seen as important symbol of ethnic identity, it is generally maintained longer. Positive attitude supports efforts to use the minority language in a variety of domains, and this helps people resist the pressure from the majority group to switch their language. And the next point is how can a minority language be maintained? Language maintenance is an effort where a group of people will take action to maintain their mother tongue, and to do this requires a strong commitment from every individual in a community. So there are certain social factors which seem to retard wholesale language shift for a minority language group, at least for a time. So the following is an attempt to maintain language. The first one is a language can be maintained and preserved when it's highly valued as an important symbol of ethnic identity for the minority group. And the next is if families from a minority group live near each other and see each other frequently, their interaction will help to maintain the language. And the third, for immigrant individuals from a minority group, the degree and frequency of contact with their homeland can contribute to language maintenance. And the next is intermarriage within the same minority group is helpful to maintain the native language. And the last is ensuring that the minority group language is used at formal settings such as a school or worship places will increase language maintenance. And the last point is language revival. Sometimes a community becomes aware that its language is in danger of disappearing and takes steps to revitalize it. For example, in 1814, 2/3 of the Welsh people spoke Welsh, but by 980, only 20% of the population spoke Welsh. Therefore, the Welsh people began a revival process of Welsh language by using a Welsh language TV channel and bilingual education from that use Welsh as medium of instruction at school. And a simple example also occurred in school in Java in Indonesia, where they apply local language in their learning curriculum, so this realizes that they are trying to preserve it. And the last is from the material I take a conclusion. So language shift is a language shift process that occurs to someone who is in a new environment that is dominated by local language, so that is affect to mother tongue, and mother tongue that he initially used but slowly began to be replaced with a new language he encountered. Language death and language loss are staged after the language shift process, and there are several factors that become the process of language shift, such as economic, social, and political, and then demographic and value and attitudes. So the way to maintain the mother tongue in the community is to give full attention to the mother tongue by respecting it, meeting each other between mother tongue users, marriage between mother tongue users, preserving it evenly in the family, the having support from government agencies such as education, law, administration, and religion. So this is from me, and thank you, ma'am.